It is Thursday morning right here on KFAI. This is the AM Drive. And as always, you get a different awesome morning show. And this is a girl Shimmer. And I use she, her, lady, women, glitter pronouns. And every single Thursday is a full on party in the studio. And it is a brand new month. We're in day number 7 of 2024 of March. And we are celebrating women and femme identities all, all over the world. And I am excited because I'm going to do something super fun this whole month of March. I'm going to be bringing in some really awesome women and femme beauties into the studio on Thursday mornings that I know personally or that I know that have done some great things right here in the community. And it's going to be so fun. And then also, all of the music that we're going to play today has been curated by some really awesome, influential femme artists. We got some Madonna, we have some Katie Lang, we have some Ashanti, we have Beyonce, we have the Spice Girls, and so much more the whole month of March. And I'm not alone because every single Thursday this month, I have guests that are going to be in the studio with me. And then this morning, we're going to get into a first song so we can kind of get the ladies all together and get the energy going in the studio. So I'm excited because I have Source Hauntings Paranormal in the studio with me this morning. And I have 3 lovely ladies in the studio with me. I have Shanna, I have Lisa, and I have Catherine. And we're going to come back. We're going to be in conversation about everything that they're doing, and then we're going to come back and just have fun. It's full of feminine energy in here in the studio. And then of course I will look at your weather, so I'll tell you what the weather's like, because maybe with like this femme power in the studio, maybe they can tell us if we're going to have some nice weather or not. We'll get that going. We're going to kick it off with some Madonna, and this is one of Shanna's favorite artists.
Mine too.
We're going to play Material Girl. We're going to get Material Girl going up here in the studio, and then we'll get that going, and then we'll be back with Source Hauntings Paranormal on today's Daybreak with Shimmer right here on KFAI Radio. We'll be back in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. And thank you for tuning in today to Daybreak with Shimmer right here on KFAI Radio. Good morning.
I love Madonna.
I know you love some Madonna.
I used to emulate the moment I saw Madonna. Very first song, was it Lucky Star?
Yeah.
I'm like, who is that?
Exactly.
I love her.
Yeah. She was.
Who is that? That's me.
Do you want to start? So we're not crossing over each one of us. Can you start? Introduction. Maybe we can offer you a show.
Oh, you know what? We've got to make those. We've got to make those.
Or heads on a stick.
Yeah, heads on a stick.
And I think it's our first time in studio.
Welcome back this morning to KFAI Radio for the AM Drive. It is Daybreak with Shimmer every single Thursday morning right here on KFAI Radio. And thank you for tuning in. It is March, the month of celebrating greatness. And this whole month, we're celebrating women and femme identities all across the world. And don't forget to tune in tomorrow to KFAI for 24 hours of International Women's Day programming. It's going to be so much fun. And we kicked it off this morning with Madonna with Material Girl. And this is a girl Shimmer. And all Thursdays for this whole month, I'm bringing in some really awesome, fun, really beautiful beauties in the studio. And I'm so honored to welcome some beautiful beauties in the studio this morning. And one of them I've known for probably, I'd say, since we were like young children. And we go way back. I remember the day when she was playing softball. And I remember she took that bats and she hit it so hard. And I was like, ooh, listen. I mean, it was kind of like watching a real life version of A League of Their Own. And I am so honored to welcome the ladies of Source Hauntings Paranormal in the studio this morning. I would love to introduce Shanna. I have Catherine, and I have Lisa in the studio. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Good morning.
Nice to meet you.
And there's one that's not with us,
Catherine.
Michelle.
Michelle Ann.
Michelle Ann.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Well, Michelle Ann, hopefully you're tuning in. I hope she's tuning in this morning. But of course, we're going to send our sparkly, beautiful vibes with her this morning.
Absolutely.
So,
Good morning,
welcome,
Michelle.
ladies. I'm excited to have you in the studio, and I am excited to hear all about what you do because before we start, Shanna, I remember when you used to be really shy, and you're like, I'm talking in front of people. I don't do crowds. And now I'm like, oh wow, like you do all these amazing speakings and you're just so out there and I love it. It's just like your energy is exuding and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, she ain't afraid of nothing no more.
That's damn right. That's right. You know, it's funny that you say that because these women would never believe that, I don't think. I was a very shy kid growing up, and so my transformation has been amazing. I'm no longer afraid to speak or afraid of much of anything, and so it's a beautiful thing. Yeah. People think, they're like, oh, you seem so extroverted. I'm like, no, I'm really not. I'm very introverted.
I've learned, I think, since the pandemic happened, I think, because you know me, I'm an extrovert. I'm
Yes.
like, I love to be out and about, but I think the pandemic sort of taught me a little bit about someone being a semi-introvert. So now I'm sort of an introvert, but then I'm also a little bit of an extrovert. So it's a little like 50-50.
And this is what I loved about us growing up, is because you would bring me out of my shell.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, it was like this yin and yang, this balance. I was like, sometimes I need someone that can pull me out of my shell, and you were that, definitely. You didn't afraid, you're like dancing, like, well, let's do this.
Woo, let's just go. I want to know all about Source Hauntings Paranormal. I'm excited. I love everything about this. I would love for the Twin Cities to know about you lovely beauties and like how did this start and everything that you can talk about that you're able to talk about this morning.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll start. Hi, I'm Catherine Quella, and I got into the paranormal pretty much the day I was born.
Wow.
I was born a psychic medium, and then as I got older, I started to get interested in bringing it to the public forum.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a job at Real Ghost Tours about 15 years ago, and I decided to teach others how to communicate with the dead. And that is
Wow.
where, taking out large groups of people, where I met Shanna. And she came on one of my tours along with some other friends, and we talked about starting our own group. And we started about 2019. About 2019 at the Palmer House. We went on our first investigation together with Lisa.
And yeah, Michelle.
And
Actually, Michelle wasn't there yet.
She wasn't there yet. And I realized that Shanna has just a plethora of gifts as well, and this personality to boot, to get the spirits kind of talking and interacting. And so, yeah, we've been putting together investigations, and now we have Lisa, Michelle, all of us, psychic mediums, doing some investigations throughout the Twin Cities area, and also all of Minnesota. We've been pretty much all over.
Wow.
And we are an all-female paranormal team.
Which is what I love. Hey,
Hey.
this is what the month is all about.
Exactly.
So like kind of like what investigations do you do and how do you go about, do you pick like specific cases or kind of do you just go about certain types of like tours and stuff and hauntings that you want to do?
It really depends. We do bigger locations, and we
Uh-huh.
also do residential investigations. So if someone's having a problem, like a haunting, or you know, there's something going on in their house, especially with children. With children, they would put that at top of priority. But we
Wow.
also do home investigations as well, and then Katie can say more about that.
Well, if you have any, things that are bothering you at night or your kids are terrified, we like to come in, sit with the family. First off, a lot of hauntings deal with the people living there.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have some issues, maybe personal life stresses, that can actually exacerbate some spiritual energies. So we go in, not everything is the paranormal.
Yeah.
First, we have to discount other factors. Is there an EMF leak in the house? Maybe there's ungrounded wires. Maybe there's some mental illness. going on. So first we have to discount those factors. After we've pretty much established there is a haunting, then we need to make contact. And sometimes the spirits don't want to talk to us.
Wow. I think it's just awesome. Like, I've always been interested in that. Like, like, how do they know? How do they get these energies? I bet it's a lot of work to just kind of get the energies of, of like a spirit, or in the world of like a ghost, because I believe in ghosts. People think I'm crazy. People are like, oh, Shimmer, you're just full of it. And I'm like, no, I truly believe in ghosts. I've always, since I was a child, I've always had this feeling of, I believe in ghosts. I feel like they're around me. I feel like the spirits are around me. Even when I sleep, like you talked about sleeping, I feel sometimes that the spirits are there. I just maybe not know it. And like, I feel like sometimes my grandparents are there. Like, I've really, like, lately, I think in the last couple of years, I've sort of kind of been feeling a lot like my grandma's really close to me. Like, I can feel her there. And I feel like there's been like some really hard kind of like issues in life that have been going on, but I feel like her spirit and her energy is there.
And she's going to come around. She's trying to give you a message about something in specific about your life that she wants you to alter. Grandparents are great about coming when there needs to be a message about something you need to change. That's important. It could be about health, could be about a relationship or whatever. But yes, they tend to do that. And it's a perfect time at night between the state of being awake and going to sleep when we're able to communicate with the spirit world the most. So that's very acute of you to be able to pick up on that.
Yeah, I feel the presence there, and I just feel sometimes too, like, all of a sudden, like, I have these moments of like outbursts of like I start talking to her, and it's so interesting, and people are like, who are you talking to? And I'm like, I'm talking to my grandmother. And I'm like, she's not here like in the physical form, but she's here in the spiritual form.
Correct.
And I'll have these conversations, and is that kind of normal too? Like,
Yes.
when you're doing these,
We
investigations?
talk to spirit all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We have our guides, we have our ancestors who are with us. There's so much. We're never alone. They're always speaking. For me, it's hard to tune out sometimes because it's so loud always. I will say, your grandparents are very proud of you.
Mm-hmm.
You've had a rough road, but they are so proud of you. And your grandmother I just see her wrapping her arms around you and just giving you a big hug and just saying, I'm so proud of you and all that you've done and accomplished and doing. And don't stop and don't be afraid. You're doing amazing things and they're proud of you.
I don't want to cry like 3 in the morning.
I'm like, I just need to get that message. I also want to say, do you remember the house that you grew up in?
Yes, I do. Yes.
So that place. Now, what do you think? Do you have any memories of ever seeing or ever having kind of feelings in that house?
I had feelings of sometimes being stuck. Feelings of being stuck. Feelings of, I felt like there was like no escape, right? But I would have these premonitions in my head where like, you can do it. You're just afraid to do it. I was afraid to like take that leap of faith. I was afraid to just do it because I felt like there were like individuals that probably were holding me back from doing that. And me, I grew up, and I'll talk about it on the air. Like, I'm not going to say names, but definitely I feel like there were a lot of, I feel like I was trying to impress everyone. And I was afraid to do things because you know how like you do something and if you do it, people get mad at you. And I wanted that acceptance of love, and I didn't want to do it because would they be mad at me? So I feel like there was a lot of like barriers and walls growing up.
People pleasing.
Yes, people pleasing.
Yep.
And that definitely was a big factor, and it was people pleasing, and that's something that I've dealt with for such a long time.
Yeah, you and I both.
Was people pleasing.
Yep, you and I both. I remember that. And I'm so proud that you moved on
Yes.
from that. Yeah.
Definitely it took a lot of courage, and I think, I don't know if like when you kind of are having these tours, or like when you have you know, the spiritual world calling you, and when you're speaking with people, I'm wondering if people pleasing and like maybe these barriers have affected them.
Well, absolutely. I mean, there are many factors into becoming a ghost or an earthbound spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe part of that is people pleasing, living your life what you think is in accordance to other people and getting stuck. And anybody can become a ghost. Depending on what you're attaching yourself to. Is it too much into the material world? Is it too much onto someone? I mean, a lot about passing on to the upper astral realms, whatever you want to call them. Some people call them heaven realms, whatever. You need to be able to let go. And let go is oftentimes becoming your authentic self and loving yourself wholly.
And accepting yourself.
Right.
Accepting.
I just got goosebumps.
Right?
Yes.
Like
Self-love.
And I-
Catherine just gave me goosebumps.
Right, that's what we do. That's what we do. That's the medicine, baby. So what you said is when you heard that voice, you heard your voice saying you can do better. You know that voice of positivity, that cheerleader. Do you know who that is? That's your spirit guide. That is your spirit guide. It's been with you your whole life. I remember growing up with you, and I always wonder. I remember asking you this: why do you write? Oops. Why do you write? You tend to do
Yes,
this
in
all
the
the
air,
time.
like I call it like air spiral writing.
Do you
or
know what it
something.
is?
I don't.
It's automatic writing. It's air automatic writing, and
She's
that is
right.
and that is a part of a psychic gift. Why we were so
I just got the
connected when we were
chills
little.
just now.
I did too.
You have sensitivities. Again, why we were so close growing up. You know, we had others, right? But you and I had a very special bond.
Yes.
Like we knew each other's souls.
Mm-hmm.
And so now seeing these things, I'm like, oh, Quinn, honey, you've been gifted just like me. In
Oh
so
my
many
goodness.
ways.
I am so amazed that you remember that, because I used to just sit there like writing in the air like
Yeah.
for no reason, and it's funny, I still do it, and I did it yesterday. Like, oh my goodness, like
Now
I
you
feel
know.
like this psychic energy is coming. Like, how interesting that you just brought that up, and I did it yesterday, because I've done it for years.
Chills.
Like
Yeah.
writing in the air, and like, and I think for me, like I would write down certain things, like I would write like just names and just feelings and thoughts of like what was going on in my mind.
That's your psychic brain. It really is. It's your psychic mind. Yeah. Intuition. You know, you're very much empath as well. It's all connected. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah. Yeah. Now, growing up with me, do you remember, did you know I was born this way? I mean, looking back on things, 'cause I never shared. Never shared.
No, I never did, because I remember you growing up very like, you know, you were really into sports, because I know that you played softball. So I know like you were really athletic in the sense of like you were really passionate about softball.
Yeah.
So I remember that. And I remember you loved Madonna. And I remember like just like you had I always thought you had really beautiful eyes. And I was like, oh, she's got beautiful eyes. I remember that you had such a sweet presence about you. But I did not know this. I did not know that you always had this in you. Because like you said, you never talked about it. So you never shared about it. So I've learned so much, and I'm like, wow. And I think within the last couple of years, I'm like, I'm always watching on Facebook, and I see this, and I'm like, this is so interesting to see how you've blossomed and how you've shined. So I think it's so interesting, but I never knew anything about this in you.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting? Yeah.
Never a dull moment, we say.
Yeah. No, the house you grew up in, I remember one night in one of the upper bedrooms, I was woken up. It was in the middle of the night. I don't remember what time, but I remember waking up and I was seeing a body hanging above me. And I remember asking our friend, do you know if anyone ever died in this house? She's like, actually, there was, I believe it was a young man that hung himself
Wow.
up in one of the upstairs bedroom where we used to sleep.
Wow.
Yeah, I woke up to that and thinking, oh my God. And I remember, don't say nothing, just lay here and go back to sleep.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh.
Interesting. I've always wanted to like speak to certain people like I'm wondering like if you have callings of like certain people. Like I know for me, like sometimes I like, I'm a big lover of Prince. And so I do
Prince.
a Prince fashion show.
I gotta stop.
And it's funny because I actually had went to Paisley Park a couple of years ago for an event. And as we were kind of, driving down the road and right there, right by Prince's, by Paisley Park, all of a sudden, like, I felt like this weird premonition, and I had like all of a sudden like this anxiety of like, why am I going into Prince's house? Because I felt like for me, I'm like, I'm going into territory that Prince probably would not have loved. And I'm like, it's so interesting because like as soon I wasn't even there, but I could feel Prince there. And I felt so afraid to go into Prince's house because I'm like, oh, like Prince is so iconic. And all of a sudden, like I just felt all this energy. Like I was completely fine when we were there, but as soon as we got close, it was like,
That was him.
Yes.
That was 100% him. His presence is so strong.
It is.
So, do you ever get the goosebumps or chills?
mm-hmm,
That's
mm-hmm.
spirit's validation. That was Prince. His presence is so known. I mean, I can feel it even through his music.
Something told me to tell you today a story about Prince.
Yeah.
Really? Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
So when I was 20, I used to be a personal waitress to Prince at the Cowboy, which turned into Tropics. It was a nightclub, and he picked which woman he wanted to personally wait on him. So he was in the VIP section,
Uh-huh.
and I was picked out of a lineup to go and wait on him. And he only would get things like orange juice or water, and he wasn't very nice to me. Okay, no, he wasn't very nice to me, and it made me feel really kind of sad about it, right?
Mhm.
And so now we move to end of April 2016. Prince has passed on, and a couple months into Ghost Tour, I'm leading a big group of people, and they say, "Hey, do you think you can get to talk to Prince?" And I said, "Well, I'll try, but I used to be a server to him years ago. Maybe he'll make an exception." And so we're sitting outside on Hennepin Park, and I have this recorded. And I said, "Prince, I waited on you many years ago, and I know you were famous, and you were kind of dismissive to me, but is there any way you can come and talk to the group, all of us?" And you hear a spirit say on my recorder, "I'll go and get him." And then you hear another spirit say, "He's here." And so I said, "Prince, back in the day I waited on you, and I don't know, is there any way to make up for things in the past you could sing?" And he sang Purple Rain on my recorder as a spirit in front of a group of 30 people.
Wow.
You can't make that shit stuff up.
Wow. Wow. Like the whole song.
Well, the first part of the song. I mean, we're talking about spirits who have
Right.
to really do some juggling energetically to get, but yeah, it was Prince.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I have goosebumps again.
Yep.
Like,
That's
how-
his presence.
again, how interesting is it that all of a sudden I just bring up Prince and Catherine has this connection, this personal connection with Prince.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Like, this energy is vibing up in the studio
Yes.
this morning. I
Yeah,
love it.
I have a couple myself, and I actually, we own a couch that Prince used to sit on, and it was in a producer's, they used to come in the recording studio, and they would sit on this couch. We have this couch in our house. Kind of cool, his story. But, growing up, my mother, from one of her part-time jobs, worked at Powderhorn Park in South Minneapolis. And so on Friday nights, late after the park would be closed, Prince would come in and he would play, play basketball for a while. So he would, come in, and I remember one time he came in and he just had a presence about him that was always kind of intimidated me. But I didn't realize who he was back then, so it's not like I was starstruck. He just had this presence about him. Energy was like, whoa, who is this man? It captured my attention. I remember one time he's walking down the hallway, and he stops and he looks at me and he goes, "Honey, you got the shine." And then he looked and just kept on walking and went to go play basketball. And at the time I'm like, what is he talking about? I didn't know what he was talking about. Well, now you know. he was gifted too. I really believe that he was spiritually gifted as well. You know, and why he has such, I think he's his presence is so strong. He's a very much a spiritual man and very much here, still with us.
I definitely feel Prince's energy a lot, but it really hit me when I went to Paisley Park, because I felt like, for me, I felt like I was invading
space. So that's where next time you have that kind of feeling, I want you to ask, is it okay if I step in and if I come in? He'll say, most likely he'll say yes. Ask, just ask. Then you'll feel kind of better. Like, you'll be like, yes, come on in, darling.
Then I feel like this anxiety just won't it won't be there, because literally, like, you could tell, like, you're in the car, you're like, oh yeah. And then as soon as I got close, it was like, wait a minute. And it was like, not like bad anxiety, but it was like anxiety of like,
So that's when you're connecting with the spirit. Sometimes you get this like almost like heightened anxiety or just like energy that just hits you and like, what the heck is this? A lot of times it is anxiety. Then that's when I kind of stop and go, okay, what's going on here? What am I feeling? What's coming in? So you feel that again, just kind of tune in for a second and you just ask a question. And intuitively you'll know. Intuitively your spirit guides are speaking to you. You'll know what to say, you'll know what to do. But acknowledge it. A lot of times they just want you to acknowledge it, because when you do, then that feeling, the anxiety will lift, it will shift.
Whew. I am having so much fun this morning, and a lot more that I want to talk about. I want to talk about, like, if you have like a personal like spirit that you talk to often, and I want to talk more about Source Hauntings Paranormal, like the website, because we can't talk about like pricing on the air, but we can talk about like websites and things like that. I want to talk more about like each of like the work that you do within the group and all of that, and also like how inspiring it is that women are doing this. You know, I think it's really awesome. So I want to talk about that when we come back, and then we're gonna hear a couple of announcements, and then we'll get into another song. And we'll go into an announcement right now. We'll come back to the AM Jive right here on KFAI for Daybreak with Shimmer. And then I think next we'll get into another song here in just a moment. We'll be back in just a few minutes right here on KFAI Radio's AM Jive. Good morning, Twin Cities.
Are the opinions of the people expressing them, and
Was
are
that
not
your stomach?
necessarily
I thought,
those
Okay.
as soon as you said that, I was like, what?
Staff
There was
or
Okay, so a
employees
couple
of the
things I
I
have.
caught myself. I didn't say shit.
Yeah, so whenever because of my gastric bypass, I have involuntary noises from drinking, and that a gurgle came up, and I'm like, and you looked at me, it sounded like a growl. It'll probably, I hope it didn't record. And then my stomach did a roar. I haven't eaten anything. This is all I've had, and I did last. But similar. I ordered a pizza last night. I was so exhausted. It came, and I didn't even answer that. I didn't even let them in.
And grow into the next generation.
So I just wasted $30 on a pizza I didn't even eat. So I haven't eaten since, I don't even know. But anyway,
No previous Girl Scouts
as you know, when
experience is
spirit's
required.
moving around,
Troop
so
leaders decide
it's
their
like
own
my
meeting schedules.
it seems like about the same time.
Community and resources provided.
That's why I need
Learn
snacks.
So that's how we know she's picking up energies.
GSRD/read.
But that other one was right here.
Dinner theaters.
Yeah.
Okay.
You looked at me like,
As a woman in the music industry,
it's embarrassing because when I lay down it's worse.
Voice that wasn't there. It happens to me all the time. That's why
Yes.
when I mentor people, I can't wear my or
beautiful
I cannot
is
do
the
the
true
headphones.
story of
Right.
Carole King's journey from
I
teenage
used to.
songwriter
It's
to
just
music
it's so
legend.
loud.
They're like, oh, now I got your ears encapsulated. I'm gonna whisper to just you, and they can't hear
Tickets
me.
and more information at chanhassendt.com.
Yeah, Gwen, if you have any questions for us too, anything that comes up, feel free.
Is this your song? Or no? This.
No, Catherine wanted, who did you want again?
I was thinking MIA.
MIA, that's right, Bad Girls. I have to see if I can find a clean version of it.
Clean it up, yeah. I see this sign up coming up over there.